Welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
What's up, people? Super Bowl Sunday.
Today is the day, brother. Are you excited?
Today's the day. Either I'm going to end the day very depressed and drinking myself into a coma, or I'm going to be ecstatic. You know, it's
Come on, 49ers.
I can't even enjoy myself this whole week. I talked about a little bit.
You can't celebrate this early.
No, like last time we were in it, like I said before, 2012, I soaked it in the whole media week. I watched all the interviews, predictions, all that stuff, all the players getting interviewed. Loved every second. This year, I'm like trying to avoid it because I'm just like, it'll hurt too bad if I get this into it.
Right. So. And does a small part of you think I can't do any of the things I did last time because they lost?
Yeah, 100%.
So I gotta switch it up. You got to do your part as a fan.
Yep.
You got to do your part. You got to be careful. It's a very delicate process here.
Yeah. I'm watching it at my buddy Adam's house, and I've watched the last two playoff games where we were dominant at his house, and I told him, I'm watching at your house. I'm like, I don't care if you're there. I'll fucking break in the window. I'm watching it. All the superstitions are in full effect.
That is where the Niners win. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going back.
Yep.
I got you.
Can't change something up. You've been doing something a certain way through the playoffs, and it's gone well. You got to keep it rolling, man.
Right. And let's say you do watch it at home and they lose. You're always going to wonder.
Oh, yeah, and then I'll hate my own house. I'll have to sell it, you know.
Right.
It's just bad memories. Every time I walk in, fucking Niners lost.
That's
here.
right. That's why you sold your last house.
Exactly.
Right?
No, it was my
Lauren's
first
like,
house.
don't tempt me, Niners. I'll sell this bitch.
Where do I have to move, Niners? Where do we got to go?
Where do I have to go?
But yeah, I'm in full neurotic mode right now, so I'm actually anxious for it just to be over so I can know what the fuck happens and move on with my life.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm rooting for them.
I'm sure the Chiefs fans all feel the same way. It's been 50 years since they've even been in it, so there's a lot of stakes on both ends, man. And I don't hate that team either, so but it's tough hearing the Mahomes is God stuff all the time. So hopefully we can slow God down enough to where we can score more points.
That's right. Listen, he's too young. He's not ready to win a Super Bowl yet.
Yeah, he's gonna be in it like another 5 times, Chiefs, at least.
Yeah.
Dan Marino thought the same thing though. He went to it one time when he was like in his second year and he never got back.
Oh.
It was brutal. And he was like the best QB in the game for all that time, and he still didn't get back. You still have to have the team around it, the coach, Andy Reid.
That's right.
He's getting up there. He's not going to live forever. You got to take advantage of your opportunities. But enough about football, people. What's going to happen? What's going to happen is going to happen. I saw Bill Burr do a funny little take on. He kind of made fun of people that do all the predictions and stuff. He imitated them on Instagram.
Oh my God.
It was pretty funny. He's just like, what the Niners got to do, they can't get behind. Garoppolo's a game manager, blah, blah. He was just like railing on. It's like the same narrative that everyone's had all week long. It's like they all say the same shit,
Yeah, they do.
So
they do. They all get together and talk or something. It's like nobody wants to be out of the loop. They're always afraid to be that one guy that's
right.
That goes against it. Even though sports has shown us time and time again. I mean, that's why sports betting is so popular. Sports betting is so popular because people genuinely lose.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen, people.
You don't.
The ball's oblong shaped. It doesn't bounce like a basketball. It literally, if somebody drops the ball or there's a fumble, it's going to bounce in a funky ass way. Yeah. That's just like, to me, that's just kind of football in a nutshell. It's like super unpredictable, Every year
absolutely.
There's teams in it at the end that you never expected would be there, and it's just, it's crazy.
Well, I appreciate that, though.
Yeah, that's why we love it.
Yeah, different teams, uncertainty.
Yeah,
it's great, man. Predictions.
We mentioned the shape of the ball, and it kind of brought me around to did you want to talk for a second about Kobe, the basketball? Because that was a bummer last week. That actually happened right after we got off the mics. We had just recorded. Yeah. I go sit down and turn on the TV, and then I'm looking at. Actually, I saw somebody randomly tweeted it. This was like before it had caught fire. Somebody like tweeted a TMZ thing. I was like, that can't be real.
That's what I said, dude. That's what I said. When I saw it I think I first saw it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, fake news, I was like, no way. And I just started looking, and I went to the front page, and then there it was. And when it's on the damn front page, it's like, that shit's news. Like, that's for real. And I saw all these tweets, and I went and read these articles. It just feels like he's always been there. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it. He's like a Michael Jordan character for our generation, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he came out of high
everybody
school.
wanted to be Kobe. It's like I still yell Kobe when I throw things into any type of basket, socks, trash into a trash can, whatever. Like,
and he was I don't know. It hurts because I think because of what he became as a man. You know, like we saw, he transformed from a guy that was all about himself early on, and that's part of what made him great. You know, Michael Jordan was the same way. You have to be super confident and cocky, almost even, and almost insufferable to be around to be that great, because they have no tolerance for anyone who's not at their level, that's not pushing like they are, that's not willing to put in the extra time. So he was all about himself, but then, you know, as he got older and he had kids and you've seen him become something else, you've seen him become like this figure that would help younger people. He was a great father, all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a shame because he had so much more to give too.
Right. But even as he became a father and that sort of thing, he never lost that work ethic, which is so inspiring.
It was just it just transferred to business, and he was now obsessed with business.
Yeah. I mean, it's that Mamba mentality, man. He created a frame of thinking. Yeah. He's a pretty, I mean, he'll live forever, man. He's a legend, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. And then obviously it's tragic because there wasn't just him either. You know, there was 8 other people, including his daughter. Yeah. Horrible. Definitely rest in peace, Kobe, and all the others that were on the plane. The helicopter. So, bummer. Absolutely. I'm sure you guys have already heard everyone else's take on it too, but we had to mention it. We have another interesting, tragic event that occurred. That this is a little bit off the beaten path for us, no pun intended, because these guys went off the beaten path for some reason. But we don't normally do cases like this. They're like a mystery, unsolved type of situation. But you know, sometimes it's fun. So.
It is fun, man. It's fun, some conversation, a little bit of speculation. I like to hear your point of view. Rarely do we agree completely, so that makes it fun.
You wouldn't want us to, would you?
No, I don't want to agree with you.
No, fuck off. You're an asshole.
Right. I got one job to do here.
All your opinions are shit.
The other guy.
That's why I picked you for this podcast.
Oh, great. I'm glad I made the cut, sir.
You know, this guy that I started working with, I don't agree with a damn thing he says. Let's do a podcast together.
Let's do it. Let's bring him on.
No, usually we agree.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's jump into it. The Yuba County Five, baby.
Let's do it. So if you don't know, here at True Crime Guys, we think very highly of our patrons. You know, the people that subscribe at patreon.com/truecrimeguys, parentheses, shameless plug, close parentheses. You know, those people. We're very appreciative of them. And we pride ourselves on putting our patrons first. But in this case, for some just inexcusable reason, we forgot to shout out the very special party creeper that gave us this awesome recommendation in a time of need, in a time where we had, to be honest, no fucking clue what case we were going to do. And then here comes Tristan B on Patreon with a freaking day saver. So Tristan, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for your suggestion. And thank you for your support. You've been a patron for over 2 years. We appreciate that very, very much. All right, freeloaders. See that? That's special treatment right there. We still love you, dudes. All right. So anyways, I wrote a song for Tristan B. It's coming up. Here it comes. Thanks again.
Tristan B. How could we be so forgetful? Please forgive me and Lord for being so forgetful. You said you knew a case that would jive with what we got going on. You said look up the Yuba County Five, motherfuckers, and tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, go on, try to tell me I'm wrong. Listen here to me, you best believe we give credit where it's due. Now Tristan B, you best believe I just made this whole intro dedicated to you. You said you knew a case that would jive with what we got going on. You said look up the Yuba County Five, motherfucker. Tell me
Well, obviously, Tristan, you were right. And also, we have a special treat for you. We solved it at the end. Totally solved it. True Crime Guys solved it right here in this episode. Yuba County 5 has been solved. But how, True Crime Guys? How? How could you have solved it? That's an excellent question, listener. Stay tuned and let us explain it to you. Let's start at the beginning, shall we?
All right, our case this week is a mystery that dates back to 1978. 5 young men, referred to as the boys, went on a trip to go watch a basketball game and never returned. On their way back, they made a turn onto a road in bad weather conditions and just for whatever reason started wandering out into the mountains.
Right. This is like the American version.
Snow.
I'm sure you've heard the American version of what is it, the Pavlov's Pass?
No, I've never heard of it.
The Russian skiers that went missing. It was a very similar situation to this. It was like 5 Russian skiers. They had everything they needed to survive, supposedly, out in the wilderness, and they just like froze to death out there. And then one was missing, I think. Same kind of situation. I vaguely remember this.
Okay.
You don't remember that?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember that, but the way you described it does sound very similar to this case.
Man, maybe I should look up something about that. Go on. I'll see if I can pull it up.
All right, so Bill Sterling, Jack Huett, Ted Weiher, Jack Madruga, and Gary Mathias were a group of 5 friends. And while the media and police would describe them as boys, the 5 men ranged in age from 24 to 34. However, they were mildly mentally disabled and were supposedly dependent on family. They were, however, highly functioning. They basically, their family watched over them because they did have,
right.
Individually, they each had problems.
I feel like they were more like maybe on the spectrum. They weren't like,
yeah,
they weren't like mentally slow where they couldn't take care of themselves. All of these men like had jobs. 2 of them served in the military. They had driver's license. They weren't helpless. You know what I mean? But I guess they still kind of had that boyish feel to them because of their mental capacity. Maybe they had the mental capacity of like 15 to 16-year-old, and then they're mid-20s. That's the way I thought.
Yeah, I think maturity would be the word that would describe. They had a lack of maturity for their age, I suppose. That they were still highly functioning and able to do most things, that any normal adult would do.
Right.
One of them, however, was pretty extremely schizophrenic, which we'll get into in a little bit. He kind of stood out. And it adds raises your eyebrow as to the way this thing went because he's the one that was never found. So, kind of odd.
Okay.
On February 24th, 1978, the boys attended a college basketball game at California State University in Chico. They all rode back together in Jack Madruga's 1969 Mercury Montego. Not a bad looking car.
Not at all. I'd drive it.
Right, but not great for terrible weather conditions. I would say.
Probably not.
You don't really want a classic car with rear-wheel drive, no ABS and all that shit when you're driving through terrible. Where they were driving through was at like 4,000 feet of elevation, and there had been a storm that had just come through.
Right. Well, to be fair, that car was only 9 years old at the time. It wasn't really a classic car. That was still a newer car, but still not good for those conditions.
But you know what I mean? Like any car from that era, it isn't ideal for.
Well, no,
like
but it's all we had.
Cars.
You know what I'm saying? If they were wanting to go up that path, that's the only choice they had.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know how people did it back then. Try driving one of those cars now. It would feel so like you're like, what the fuck?
Especially in snow.
Yeah. My buddy had a 66 Mustang, and he let me drive it, man, and that thing was insane. Like, it felt like you're trying to drive a ship on the road. Like, it was so long, so heavy. It didn't have power steering, dude.
No power steering.
Holy fuck.
That's right.
Like, when it slowed down, like when you're going into a parking space, you're getting a full-on arm pump trying to get that fucking thing into the parking space. Like, it was hard to turn.
Hey, that's back when men were men, Lauren. They drove real men's cars.
Right? I know.
That's why all of our dads have like huge fucking forearms and hands and shit. That's from driving those fucking cars with no power steering. Get with it, guys.
They got the big veins on their forearms. Like, dang.
That's right.
Power steering's for pussies.
That's right. I'm about to unhook mine now that I think about it.
I know, right? Who needs it? After the game, which ended in their favorite team, UC Davis, winning, they stopped by a convenience store to buy snacks for their trip home to Yuba City, which was roughly 50 miles away. However, none of the 5 would ever be seen alive again after this point. The 5 men were set to play in a week-long Special Olympics tournament the following morning. The families would later report all 5 men were extremely excited about the tournament because the winners would be awarded a week-long trip to Los Angeles and Disneyland.
That's
so
awesome.
This was a big week for them. You know, they were kind of going out to this basketball game together to kind of like pregame or like amp themselves up for the tournament they were about to participate in.
Yeah.
You know, so this was the start of a great week for them. They were super excited. They'd been laying out their uniforms on their beds.
Yeah, they had their moms or significant others or whatever cleaning their sneakers. Like they were ready to play, man. These guys were excited about this.
And that gives you, I guess it gives you a little insight into the maturity level, I suppose. You know, it sounds like a childish thing to do. Although I could see myself doing it. I'm not gonna lie.
I was about to say, dude, you've probably done that for flag football or adult softball games.
I went golfing the other day. I've just started recently golfing. I've only gone like 5 times, and it's awful. Like me and my 3 friends actually all kind of started together, and we're all terrible. And that's part of the fun is that we're just so shitty. We just laugh at each other the whole time. But I'm not gonna lie. I got a new golf shirt. And I kind of like laid it out. I was kind of excited to go.
Shit.
Yeah.
Listen, it won't be long, Lauren. Once you start turning the corner and you start getting halfway decent at it, you'll start getting serious, and it won't be fun anymore, and all your friends won't hate it.
I'm going to be one of those guys. Because right now I wear the golf clothes kind of ironically because I think they look so stupid.
Yeah.
But once I start getting better,
pants.
watch, I'm going to be fucking serious about it. I'm going to be wearing golf shoes to work and shit. It's just weird. You know how you become your parents? You know, you become your parents eventually. You just can't help it. Like it's, you know. I don't know. Yeah. Whatever you're doing, you kind of become that thing.
You kind of do. You can get obsessed with it, and it's fun to do that when you learn a new skill. And you know what? You know what though? If you truly want to learn a new skill to where in its efficiency, that is necessary. You kind of have to be obsessed. I was talking,
buy in.
Yeah, I was talking with my buddy Rex about that because like he learned to do a handstand recently, and he just does handstands all the fucking time. Like he's just like, dude, look at me, I can do a handstand. You know, we'll be
that sounds annoying. Like you're mid conversation with him and he's upside down. You're like,
it's like, dude, come on,
get
just
serious for a
fucking
minute.
walk on your feet. God damn it. Like, you know, I mean, but really, it's pretty damn impressive, and it takes a full body strength to support your body like that. Like he can just fucking handstand until his damn arms fall asleep.
So he could definitely drive a car with no power steering, no problem.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. But what I'm saying is, he's obsessed as shit. He got obsessed with shit with handstands. But that's what it took to learn it. You had to do it every damn day.
Right.
And that's just something basic. When you're thinking about golf, like golf's kind of a little more complex, I think.
Yeah. I think it's important as we get older to find shit like that because, I mean, life can get monotonous, especially if you get the same job, you know, you've been with the same person for a long time. You need that thing that kind of excites you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're growing as a person. You're growing your brain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, learning new shit's important, too.
Yeah, you got to keep that brain active, man, or that bitch will shut down.
Yeah, it'll atrophy.
That's right. Just like any other muscle.
Yeah. So this was their thing, was basketball. They had their team together. They were excited for this week-long tournament they were about to participate in. Gary and Mathias stressed to his mother to not let him oversleep. They were all super pumped for this thing, so it's kind of odd that they turned off onto this road and seemingly went on this treacherous hike that ended in their deaths. A Northern California drought broke hard in February 1978, blanketing rural areas of the state in sheets of snow. They were driving through the mountains during this time at over 4,000 feet of elevation, and there was several feet of snow on the ground. I think the testimony and the person the witness supposedly who had seen them that night, it gives you some insight into how bad this weather was, because this guy was experiencing what he thought was a heart attack. It may or may not have been a heart attack. Mm-hmm. Something was in the air that night. You know, it's kind of odd. Like, we'll get into this guy that supposedly saw them, but to me, I don't think
I'm interested to see what you mean by that, because I didn't feel like it was that. Are you insisting like some kind of supernatural thing, or what do you mean?
I don't know, but it just kind of weirded me out that this strange event happens with these guys, and then this dude also like he can't continue driving because the weather's so bad, and then he has like all of a sudden he has a heart attack in that moment, and
I think
he's all delirious, and thinks he sees things and he doesn't see things.
Well, I was under the impression he had a heart attack trying to push his car out of the snow. He had like a mini heart attack.
I get that, but he was also like hallucinating, and he didn't die from the heart attack. So I don't know. Like I feel like if you had a heart attack out there alone, wouldn't you have died? You know?
Well, why do you think he would? No, because you can have a minor heart attack. Why do you think he was hallucinating?
You listen to his statement. We'll get into it. It's a long statement about how he thought he saw this and he thought he saw that. He thought he saw a woman carrying a baby.
Yeah, I heard that.
But then when he thought about it again, he didn't, and it's just like,
oh,
I don't know.
Damn it. So
well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But there was something strange this night. The police in both Chico and Yuba City begin to search the route between the two cities, but they find no signs of the 5 men. After a few days, the police in Chico receive a break in the case, and they couldn't even really go on a full-on search yet because the weather was so bad.
Right. It's pointless. I mean, you're stabbing around in snow, probably feet of snow at this point, right?
Yeah, and they had obviously checked the main highway where the boys were supposed to have been driving, and they weren't on that. So they had to have gone off the beaten path a bit. So after a few days, a ranger in the Plumas National Forest would find the car, the 1969 Mercury Montego, on the side of a road in the forest. He would lead police back to the car, which ended up being the boys' car, and the findings of the car led to many questions that are still unanswered to this day. The car was located on a snowy road in the middle of a forest that none of the men had been known to frequent. In addition, it was 70 miles away from Chico and nowhere near Yuba City. Law enforcement also wondered why the men got out of the vehicle in the first place. While the car had been found stuck in a snowdrift and wheels showed signs that it had spun in an attempt to get out, the police said that the snow was shallow enough that 5 healthy young adults should have been able to push it out.
Right.
Now, there's some other things, though, that kind of contradict that. They also said that the undercarriage of the car had no dents or even mud scrapes, despite being driven up nearly 50 miles of poorly maintained roads in the middle of winter. Police theorized that whoever drove the vehicle had to have known the roads extremely well to be able to drive it at night without scraping it. So to me, they're like, well, why didn't these healthy young boys push this car out? It's obviously stuck. The wheels had been spun, so they were not trying to park there and stay there. They were trying to get out. But at the same time, the roads were so bad that it was hard to even get where they had gotten. So to me, it's like maybe they just said, even if we get this thing unstuck, how are we going to get out of here? How are we going to turn it around? We can't go any further. Obviously, we got stuck where we are.
Right.
And in bad weather conditions and at night in the dark, you're in a car that's not designed for off-roading.
You're not in clothing designed to get out and push in feet of snow either.
No, this was not part of the game plan.
No.
They were going to a basketball game and then they were coming home. And something obviously took them off the main highway, whether it was out of their control as far as maybe there was some kind of tree down, roadblock type of situation.
Right.
There's even speculation that maybe they were being chased or followed. Something happened at the basketball game. Who knows why they turned off here. We have our theories when we learn more about a certain character in this story later on. So the car also determined by the police that there had been a quarter tank of gas, and the car started immediately without trouble when hot-wired. The keys were missing, so they had to hot-wire it to start it. But the car was in function.
Fired right
it was
up.
functioning properly, yeah. And there was still enough gas for them to get home had they gotten out. Now let's get into the strange sightings. Joseph Shones of Sacramento told police that he had inadvertently wound up spending the night of February 24th through the 25th near where the Montego was found, the car the boys had been driving. He had driven up there where he had a cabin to check the snowpack in advance of a weekend ski trip with his family. So he's going up the night before this. His family's supposed to go on this ski trip just to check to make sure they can get up in there and everything.
Right.
He gets stuck.
Nope, we can't get up in here.
Yeah, not good weather conditions. At 5:30 p.m., about 150 feet up the road, he too had gotten stuck in the snow. In the process of trying to free it, he realized he was beginning to experience the early symptoms of a heart attack and went back into his car, keeping the engine running to provide heat. 6 hours later, lying in the car and experiencing severe pain, he told police he saw headlights coming up behind him. Looking out, he saw a car parked behind him with headlights on, with a group of people around it. One of which seemed to him to be holding a baby. It was a woman holding a baby that he thought he saw.
Well,
now, obviously,
I have a big.
It's not going to be. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I have a huge problem with this sighting, just because of the car pulling up behind him. A car pulling up behind you. You have their headlights shining in your face. You can't see anything.
It's dark. It's snowing.
You're not. Yeah, and you can't see anything past a light that bright at night, even if
and
it
you're
wasn't
having a heart
snowing.
attack. Not to mention he's having a heart attack.
You're having a heart attack. Maybe it's the light of heaven. and you just don't go to it. It's a good thing he didn't walk over there. He would have died there.
This dude's going through some shit because his testimony's a little bit all over the place.
Right.
He called to them for help supposedly, but they stopped talking and turned their headlights out. Later, he saw more lights from behind him. This time, flashlights. They also went out when he called to them. So when he called out, they turned the flashlights off as well. After that, Schoen said at first he recalled a pickup truck parking 20 feet behind him briefly and then continuing on down the road. Later, he clarified to police that he could not be sure of that, since at the time he was almost delirious from the pain he was in.
Yeah.
So a pickup truck, was that was before, right? Behind him briefly. Yeah, so at first. So I think he saw the pickup truck pass him before the car. After Schoen's car ran out of gas in the early morning hours, his pain subsided enough for him to walk 8 miles down the road to a lodge, where the manager drove him back home, passing the abandoned Montego at the point where he recalled hearing the voices originate from. So it makes you wonder, did the car get stuck because he was there? Like they couldn't get around him, maybe? Because it sounds like the car parked behind him while he was experiencing his heart attack.
Right.
And then
but the truck drove
the car
by,
was still
though,
there.
Right?
The truck drove by, but maybe the truck was a 4-wheel drive,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's room to get by him, obviously. The
Right.
truck got by.
But maybe the truck had to go off the road a little bit through rougher, more snow and whatnot, and the car wouldn't have made it. Maybe once the car stopped because something was in front of him, it couldn't get going again.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe it's this guy's fault.
Yeah, maybe.
Damn heart
You
attack.
ruined everything. God, fucking take care of yourself, people. I'm
Right. Doctors would later confirm that he had indeed experienced a mild heart attack. There's another notable report from a woman who worked at a store in the small hamlet of Brownsville, 30 miles from the spot where the car had been abandoned, which they could have reached had they continued down the road where they left the car. This was on March 3rd. So this is after they go missing. There's flyers that have been distributed with the pictures of them, and there's a reward for $1,215. Pretty random number, right?
Yeah, it is.
$1,215. The families had put this reward out with pictures of them, and this woman who worked at this convenience store said that she saw a red pickup truck 2 days after the disappearance, and she said she identified the men in the pickup truck as the men from the flyer, and that she knew that they were out of the area due to their, quote, big eyes and facial expressions. 2 of the men, whom she identified as Huett and Sterling, were in the phone booth outside while the other 2 went inside. Police said that she was a credible witness and they took her account seriously. Additional detail came from the store owner who corroborated her story. He said to investigators that the men, whom he believed to be Weiher and Huett, came in and bought burritos, chocolate milk, and soft drinks.
Okay, but aren't we missing one?
Go ahead.
Where's the other guy? Who are we missing here?
As far as 5, right? They're saying 4.
Yeah, this is the Yuba County Five, bro.
So Weiher, Huett, Sterling.
Who's missing? Our old buddy Mathias.
Right. Yeah.
Where you at, buddy?
More on Mathias later.
Yeah.
Weir's brother told the Los Angeles Times that while driving to Brownsville in a different car, an apparent ignorance of the basketball game seemed completely out of character to them. However, the store owner's description of the 2 men's behavior seemed consistent with them. Weiher said that his brother would eat anything he could get his hands on, and he was often accompanied by Huett more than the other 4. So Their behavior matched up with what the family thinks. So that gave even more clout to the witness account of the store owner and the clerk.
Right.
And this is another sighting of a pickup truck, which is odd because the guy having the heart attack said that he had seen a pickup truck right before he saw the car with the people parked behind him that night.
That's right.
So we're seeing now a link here. We're seeing consistent stories with a car and a pickup truck, which there was never any pickup truck involved in this night's activities. They were all riding together.
Right.
In a car to the basketball game, and this pickup truck's a new thing. So
and now we have 3 separate, seemingly reliable testimonies. I wouldn't know why these people would want to lie or what they gain from it. You know what I mean?
Right. It's not like they got the reward money for this.
Exactly.
As winter turned into spring, the searches began. They were not successful. However, it would not be until June when a group of bikers on a Sunday joyride came upon a Forest Service trailer that was nearly 20 miles from where the men's car was found. So this is a Forest Service's kind of like shack for, I guess, rangers to stay in if they worked later or the weather got bad.
Right.
It's either a trailer or you also hear cabin quite often in different articles that I've read.
Right. I feel like
but either
cabin
way,
would be more likely.
Yeah, it's a small structure with food rations and stuff in it for people to stay in if they need it.
Right.
Inside the cabin was the body of one of men who starved to death, and this would be Ted Weiher. He had suffered from frostbite despite there being food that could have lasted them for a year and propane tanks for heat inside the cabin. So there was still tons of food rations in there.
Yeah, but
and there was propane that was unused.
Depending on how bad that frostbite gets, or your feet start getting gangrene or something like that, man, it's a little discouraging to move, I would imagine.
That's the thing that I think so many people, like I read all these comments on this case and I read all the articles and they're like, they didn't do these things that make sense. And it's like, well, first of all, you know, if you ask their families, they said that they were highly functioning on the spectrum and whatnot. But at the same time, stressful situations, they would kind of lose it. You know, like they liked their routines and whatnot.
I was about to say, any situation outside the routine is probably a struggle enough mentally for them to digest it and then act appropriately. Now imagine a life or death situation. Like this is so far out of the routine. This is not even like when you go on a road trip, I think if you have normal common sense or quote unquote normal common sense, whatever, you're preparing for catastrophes. It's like, okay, if this, God forbid, but you know, if this happens, I'm going to do this, you know, or if this happens, this is going to be my plan. Worst case scenario, I got this. These guys were just going to play basketball, and that's as far as they'd gotten.
Going to watch basketball that
night.
They were gearing up for their big tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just going to be a chill night. And also like the pain that you're in when you're wandering through snow for miles in a snowdrift and unplanned. You don't have any winter clothing on. You know, I'm guessing they were just in normal street clothes, sneakers, trudging through feet of snow. You get frostbite. You're in agony. So much so that the investigators believed that there was more than just Ted inside this cabin/trailer because his feet were so bad with frostbite and gangrene that he wouldn't have been able to pull the blankets over his feet himself. That's how painful it would have been. And so you're expecting him to, and these food rations may have also been locked up, so you would have had to have broken a lock to get to him and then started a fire and all this stuff when he's probably just laying there in agony. That's all I'm guessing all that he was able to do was just lay there and suffer.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what?
So
all of the men that died that they found, you know, there's this overall sense of, at least from the articles and from the media and stuff, you get that they gave up. You get that they just gave up. What if, you know, we'll talk more about Mathias, but what if maybe he was kind of telling them to stay and wait? You know, I'll get help or something like that. You know, because he's the only one that wasn't there. So maybe he's. Maybe he's the reason that they were there. Maybe they were just waiting on him. You know, he's going to save the day. You know, he seemed to be the most stable of them. You know, I guess. Yeah. You know, in mental capacity sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's one of the things that'll drive you crazy about this is there's so many theories and questions and a lot of times people bring up something like a point like that. I haven't heard that one yet, but like a lot of times you're like, yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, that's totally possible too.
Yeah.
What puzzled investigators most was how Weiher was found emaciated despite the fact that the cabin had been stocked with plenty of canned food and dried food and a can opener. They also said from his beard growth, they knew that Weiher had been living there anywhere from 8 to 13 weeks. I find that to be impossible, honestly. Their timeline, how could you have laid there not eating the food with gangrene and no, you know, just blankets, not using the heat source that was there, propane or starting a fire? There's no way he could have lived that long. There's just no way.
No.
I don't know what the beard thing is about, but yeah, that just makes no sense to
Either
me.
he grows a really fast beard or he was comfortable there for a little while.
Yeah.
That is a weird fact, and I've read that in more than one place. So that kind of gets odd. That's an odd thing to throw in.
Supposedly lived there for 8 to 13 weeks, yet only 12 cans of food had been opened, and he had not bothered to turn on the propane tank, which would have provided heat for the entire cabin. Several paperback books, perfect for fires, were also left untouched. Also, the window that was used to gain entry into the cabin, the door was still locked, so they had gained either Ted and or other people had gained entry through the window. That was left uncovered, so just more cold air was coming in through that.
Right.
It wasn't even thought to cover up with something.
And that's interesting. If you spend 8 to 13 weeks there, you're not like, oh, let me put a blanket around here, maybe a little duct tape, something.
Right.
I mean, anything. You stuff in the window if you don't have anything else.
Exactly. It also seemed as though Weiher had not been alone in the trailer and that Mathias had possibly Huett had been in there with him. Mathias's tennis sneakers were in the trailer, and the C rations had been opened with a P38 can opener, which Mathias would have learned how to use during his Army service. Mathias, his feet perhaps also swollen from frostbite, could have decided to put on Weir's shoes on instead as he ventured outside. So his shoes could have been wet, and he may have chosen to take Ted because Ted Weir's sneakers were missing. So,
right,
I think it's pretty clear he wasn't alone in there the whole time.
No, I think he was told to stay there, dude. Honestly,
yeah.
I think probably. Let's say Mathias went to go get help. I mean, the chances of taking Weiher with him and him making it pretty slim. Mathias had already traveled on foot. Like, this guy knew what journeys were about, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into his journeys.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was a bit of a walker. So maybe he told his new friend, to stay there, and maybe he came back and found that he was already passed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
In the next few days, they would find the bodies of the other 3 men. 2 of them were found 11 miles from the car on opposite sides of a road. It looked as if one had succumbed to the desire to sleep and the other had refused to leave his side. The other man was found 12 miles from the cabin. All 3 victims outside the cabin were believed to have died from hypothermia. The 5th man, Gary Mathias's body was never found, and he's never been seen again. To me, it's like...
So sketch.
It was 1978, and it's 2020. You telling me you wouldn't have found Gary Mathias's body by now had he succumbed to the elements along with the other 4? So even if he wandered off quite a ways, his body would have been found by now. So to me, he lived through this event and either died years later or he's still living today.
Yeah, maybe he drove a red pickup truck right on off that mountain.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just one of many things that makes Gary fishy to me. And we're going to get into a lot of them soon.
Oh, yeah.
A flashlight and 3 Forest Service blankets were found at a road just a short walk from the cabin, leaving the possibility that Mathias had been rescued or somehow found a way to escape. Like you said, maybe in a red pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear from the families of the victims a little bit. Melba Madruga, Jack's mother, told the Washington Post that she believed, quote, some force had led the group astray. Quote, we know good and well somebody made them do it. To the Los Angeles Times, she said it was impossible for her to believe that Madruga would ever drive his car, which he prized, into an area where it might have been damaged. She also said that the window had been left rolled down, something he would normally never do. She said, I'm positive he would never have went up there on his own, and he was either tricked or threatened.
Right. Now, we see a lot with, quote unquote, parents of normal kids. You see things where they say, oh, my kid would never do that. Or my son or my daughter always does this, or whatever it may be. And you kind of take it with a grain of salt because you're like, well, you don't know your kid. You don't know who they're hanging around with. They can make their own decisions. They're a teenager. They got raging hormones and shit like that. But these men were a little bit different. They were on the spectrum. Right. And people who tend to be a little slower, they liked routines. The routine is how they live. It's how they get by. It's how they learn. It's how they learn to survive in this world. And something as little as leaving your window down may seem like nothing, but that was a huge red flag to his mother. She knew how much he cared about this car. You know what I'm saying? It's anything out of the norm could have been a catastrophe. Anything. Yeah,
even at home, he wouldn't have left the window rolled down, let alone in the mountains during a snowdrift. To me, it sounds as though that car was left with no intention of going back to it.
Absolutely.
Whether it was him or whoever was driving it at the time. Which he never would have let anyone else drive it unless he was forced to. So,
yeah.
Ted Weir's sister-in-law has theorized that the men they have seen something take place at the basketball game that prompted someone to chase them. So that's also a possibility. That's you're trying to figure out why did they turn off the highway onto this mountainous road. Was someone chasing them, and this was their attempt to evade them.
So this in this theory, they think that the men saw something. Maybe criminal or something that they shouldn't have seen, and now someone's trying to keep them quiet. Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is the family member, theorizing.
Right, I understand that, but am I getting this right?
Yeah, I mean, seen something or upset someone, pissed someone off. Maybe they were driving home and they cut someone off, and the person started chasing. Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the family couldn't shake the idea that the men seemed to be determined to move forward, and the fact that they kept going up this road even after they turned off it for so long until they got stuck made no sense.
Right.
Now this is where it gets real interesting. Last year, so we're talking 2019, the Sacramento Bee released a 2-part article with new information after they were given permission to access the police records from the case as long as they did not photograph or take them out of the Yuba County Sheriff's Office. So the Sacramento Bee did some great some great research and some great reporting on this case, and they went to the police and they got access to this information no one else knew but the police, and they put out this 2-part article, and it really makes Gary Mathias,
in my opinion,
bad.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's game-changing evidence.
It is.
Like, how is this just now released? This is a total game changer. And if
right,
I've heard a lot of stories on this case, and I've read so many different versions and watched so many versions and listened to things, but I think this is about as close as you're going to get to having any kind of conclusion to this case so far without any more information.
I agree.
You agree?
So
I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, I think we're on the same page in that, again, there's just so much circumstantial stuff and so many coincidences surrounding Gary Mathias. The fact that he's the only one that was never found,
right?
And then you start hearing about his past and how he is different from the other 4. He was new to the group, and he didn't really have mental disabilities like they had. He had severe schizophrenia, but it was much different than what the other 4 had,
Right.
And they didn't. I don't know if they really knew this guy very well.
Schizophrenia doesn't affect your mental capabilities when you're not having an episode. There's been professional athletes, actors, congressmen, politicians that have been diagnosed with this same type of schizophrenia. So, I mean, they're very functional people. So if you think that he is not capable of putting this together, you're certainly wrong.
Yeah. So the Sacramento Bee would find information in the records that would indicate that it is possible that Gary Mathias was not portrayed in the media after the disappearance. He was kind of basically reported as just another one of the lost lamb in the situation.
Right.
Here's the description they write in the article. These files, clips, and interviews shape a disturbing image of Mathias, billed in virtually all media reports at the time as another lost lamb caught out in the cold. Mathias was an aberration within the flock, a young man who did not belong with the others. He was violently schizophrenic and had a history of drug use and wasn't intellectually disabled like the others. And while all 4 of the others were close friends for multiple years, Mathias was new to the group. All 5 had met through the Gateway Projects, which was an organization for the intellectually disabled. Mathias had just joined it the year prior, while the other 4 had joined it years prior. So these 4 had been close friends for a long time, and then he kind of comes into the group.
Right.
They don't really know his past, but we do now.
It's kind of a fifth wheel.
Yeah, he is kind of a fifth wheel, and we find out a lot about his past that they didn't know. I'm guessing he didn't tell them a lot of this stuff. The others had documented intellectual disabilities. For example, Ted Weiher, who was found in the cabin, was described to the Sacramento Bee by his brother as lacking common sense. The brother mentions a story where he had to carry his brother out of their burning house because the brother refused to get up due to the fact that he had to rest for work the next day. And that kind of alludes to what you talked about with taking them out of the routine.
That's right.
The window being rolled down. Like, you just wouldn't have done that.
No, those routines are important, man. That's how they make it. That's how they survive.
Yeah. Mathias, however, did not have any documented intellectual disabilities in the same way the other 4 did. He had been a football player in high school and served in the military following graduation. He had a problem with drugs and was first put into a psychiatric facility during his sophomore year in high school after a bad hallucination trip. He would later be medically discharged from the military for paranoid schizophrenia. After being discharged, he quickly went downhill. While being in jail, he called over a guard and punched him in the face. Now, this is just the beginning to the many events that he had in his past. They were violent. But yeah, the drug use thing, I think, he may have had a predisposition to schizophrenia genetically, and then
maybe
it was further pushed on, much like Herbert Mullen, by
drug use and violence.
Yeah, by acid and whatnot.
Yeah.
That same month, he was staying at his cousin's home, and the cousin's wife was sleeping after taking medication for an illness. The cousin, after worrying why a bathroom break was taking so long, caught Mathias fondling his wife. After his cousin told him he was calling the police, he proceeded to tell his cousin that he wanted to return to jail anyway. So,
wow. Yeah, he probably felt like he was a hazard. I think he probably felt like he was dangerous.
He was later arrested a few months later for threatening to stab a woman in the jaw and then telling the woman's 3-year-old child that, quote, "I thought I'd kill you once. I guess I'll have to do it again."
Oh, my.
Yeah, some scary tendencies here.
Yeah.
Mathias also had a history of breaking out of facilities and walking long distances. After being arrested in Stockton at one point, he was sent to a psychiatric facility. He spent 2 days there before breaking out through a drainage pipe and walking/hitchhiking the 80 miles back home.
Well, he did it.
Right.
He did it, Lauren. There you go. I mean,
it's just the coincidences, man, are just they're strong.
And it's not. And when I say he did it, I don't know if he did anything, but he definitely got off that damn mountain and left those guys to die there without telling anybody.
It seems as though he for sure got off that mountain.
Yeah, he had to have.
And his history would lead you to believe that he was very capable of getting off the mountain.
Absolutely. Let's read on. Let's tell him more, Lauren.
At one point, he also left his home to go live with his grandmother in northern Oregon. His mother begged him to return home, yet he hung up the phone on her. He showed up back a few weeks later, filthy and claiming he had walked from Portland, stealing milk off porches and eating dog food to stay alive on the 540-mile trip. So, yeah, if you think he couldn't get out of the mountains during a snowstorm, I'd beg to differ.
Yeah, better think again. This guy can do it.
Yeah, the final violent incident occurred a few weeks after his trip back home. He broke into the home of a local couple, and the couple awoke to find Mathias standing in their bedroom. He told them that he was looking for a ring to return to Satan, and that they also owed him rent money because this was his house.
That is so creepy, dude.
Can you imagine?
That is so freaking creepy.
I think he saw stand over your bed telling you that you owe him money because this is my house.
Yeah, I think he saw Satan in that little baby, too, that he threatened, that 3-year-old.
Yeah.
That guy's messed up, man.
Yeah. After that incident, he supposedly straightened out, joined the Gateway Projects, and became friends with the other 4 men. Despite his seemingly 180-degree change, some are still very weary of him. The Sacramento Bee states the following, quote, "Following a 1978 interview with Mathias' longtime acquaintance Janet Inzera, Yuba County Sergeant James Black wrote that Mathias had repeatedly told Inzera of a dream where he and several other people would disappear. Inzera called Mathias a very violent person, hurting several men seriously, and that he also hates women, according to Black's interview notes." So this sergeant has a very interesting conversation with someone that knew Mathias quite well, and Mathias had told her that he had this vision that kept reoccurring of him and several people coming up missing. That, to me, is another huge coincidence when him and several people went missing,
Yeah.
in reality.
I 100% agree with that. Especially when he's seeing things and he's having these visions or whatever, and he's enacting them in real life. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing the evidence with the I need a ring to take to Satan, and this is my house, and I already killed you once. Like he's believing these things so much that he's acting on them in other aspects of his life. Why wouldn't he enact? I mean, why wouldn't he act on this vision? It just makes sense.
Yeah. A brother of one of the victims also notes that Mathias' family was weird following the disappearance. The Bee states, quote, "No one pulled a trigger on the boys, but something or someone killed them." Asked if he thought Mathias set his brother and others up to die, Dallas Weiher replied, quote, "That's the only thing that makes sense." Weiher recalled that the hit 90s television series Unsolved Mysteries sought the involved family's permission to do an episode on the missing 5 sometime after their disappearance. Every family agreed except Mathias' family, despite him still being missing. Weiher said Mathias' surviving siblings declined to comment or could not be reached by the Bee. Quote, "That's just suspicious. I'm not saying they knew, but, well, you can probably guess what I think."
Okay. So, I got a few problems with that, though. I mean, for one, it does make them look like they think that Mathias did it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he is the only suspect. And if he is the only suspect, everyone else died, and he's your family member, I wouldn't want to be drug into this either. Right. Because you're going to be getting some questions that you don't want to answer.
Right.
And you're assuming that I mean, regardless of what you're assuming, but I'm sure there are some family members that are assuming that Mathias is a victim just like everybody else. And he very well may be.
Yeah.
So
that's the shame of it, is like we're obviously speculating, but yeah, he could have easily maybe his body just hasn't been found. That to me seems unlikely. I feel like 40-something years later, somebody would have stumbled across a skeleton or something by now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't. There's to me, it's hard to overlook the concept of him making this happen. He didn't directly kill them, but he to me seems to be the only thing that makes sense is that he's the reason they turned off onto this road. Maybe it was this.
Well, let me put it to you this way: if anybody could have saved him, he would be their only hope.
Yeah.
With his experience, even with his schizophrenia, with his experience and the things that he's done, I mean, he's the only hope to survive. And he obviously has common sense. I mean, let's just escape through a damn drainage tunnel.
Yeah, let's ask this simple question: do you think he died out there with them? And no. I think we both agree he didn't. So if he didn't, then why didn't he go get them help? Why didn't he ever reappear? Why did he disappear for eternity? You know what I mean? Because he felt some sort of guilt for this or whatever.
Or maybe he thought this is what's supposed to happen. If he was that convicted about this vision, Lauren, he could have thought, hey, this is, God's will or the universe's will or whatever he believed in or Satan's will. Maybe Satan was going to kill him if he didn't lead these 4 souls out here. Like, who knows, man? Like, he believed it was the right thing to do or maybe for the greater good. Then why would he go get help?
Right.
So
I have to say the picture of him is quite intense too.
Yeah, both.
He's
pictures.
staring
There's
into that cameraman like he wants to kill him. The other 4 are smiling, look happy, and then he is like, well, Jack Madruga looks a little angry too, but man, Mathias his picture is intense, dude.
Yeah, it is.
He looks like a Nazi camp soldier. Like he just looks.
Even the other picture of him without his hat, he still looks like intense at least.
Yeah.
You know what's not intense?
Oh my God.
Body odor. Haha. It's very comfortable and smells amazing because of Oh My Gaia.
That is true, man. I love opening my medicine cabinet and just having like a pyramid of different scents.
Dude,
and I can kind of pick and choose what kind of day is today. I'm thinking today is a sailor day, or today is a fireside day, or today is a true crime pine day. I want to smell nice and sweet and tangy.
That's right. It's good to have choices. It's good to have choices, people. And at Oh My Gaia, you have choices. And if you don't know what Oh My Gaia is, it's an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. And like we said, it's nice to have a choice of scents. You know, I really like Sailor, like you mentioned. I got Sailor, Egyptian Musk. What else I got over there? I got some True Crime Pine over there, of course. I got some Sandalwood. I got a pretty good choice. I got a pretty good selection right here. And there's tons more, man.
My wife is still all about the sweet pea.
The sweet pea. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Lavender's good. Lemongrass, coconut, dreamsicle, leather. There's tons to choose from, guys. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can get 15% off your order if you use the word CREEPER, CREEPER. That's what you are now because you like True Crime Guys. So it's easy to remember. CREEPER for 15% off at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. And Oh My Gaia is OHMYGAIA.com. You won't regret it, guys. Get that aluminum out of your armpits.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. All right. I want to thank everybody for going and rating and reviewing the show on iTunes and Stitcher and all that.
Hell yeah.
We got some new ones. I want to thank M.Rock for the fire emojis and the 5-star review. We're over 1,400 now. I woke up and checked, and we hit it overnight.
Nice.
So over 1,400 iTunes reviews. Who would have thought, man? Pretty crazy.
Dude, that's awesome. Hey, did you see
a real underdog story, you know?
Yeah, that is. We're ranked 202 on iTunes in True Crime.
How are we not a top 200 True Crime podcast?
I have no idea.
Suck it.
Just suck it, everybody. Look at these people. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
there's
come
great
on.
shows,
I don't think we're the best, but fucking we're definitely top 200, right? Like,
we're not
Jesus
even top
Christ.
200, bro.
I'm not asking to be a top 200 podcast overall, but a top 200 of our specific genre. Come on.
Yeah. Dude, there's so many new ones popping up, man. You know what?
You can't tell me there's 200 true crime podcasts better than ours. There's no way.
I know. You know what the problem is? The problem is that true crime has got so big that all the bigger networks are pumping out these damn true crime shows, dude.
And don't get me wrong, we ain't hating because we get advertising money for when they come to us to advertise their new one they're coming out with. We're like,
that's right.
We'll take it.
They're looking for an established podcast for that advertisement.
Yeah, buddy.
That's right. Well, we'll be waiting for you.
Also want to thank Soprano of Dorn, who said we're his favorite pod. I want to thank Daniel Lee, 1984, 5-star review. Great intros, legit podcast. There you go, Michael.
Oh, thanks, Daniel.
I am TSYD, whatever that is, Emidsteed, said Bomb Diggity, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Muchas Apps said my favorite podcast, 5 stars. Thank you. Layla Nicole, 5 stars, said we're awesome. Thank you. Eleanor 2019 said AAA amazing.
Yeah.
I clean houses all day, and I wouldn't get through it without you too. Thank you. Photo editing app addict said good stuff. 5 stars. Thank you. Kelly KC still loving this podcast. You guys are amazing. Go Chiefs. Oh, I get to do that.
KC love, dude. Her name's
Thank
Kelly
you for the
KC.
5-star review, but man,
yeah, her name's Kelly KC. What'd you expect?
You got to do that to me on Super Bowl Sunday.
I know.
And then the last one, Fearless Reviewer said 5 stars. Yay, love this. Where have you been? I guess this person just found us. So where have you been?
We've been here making podcasts.
Where have you been? We've been here. Where have you been?
3 years. We're still trucking.
Exactly. So.
Dude, I love it, man. I'm still having fun with the podcast, man.
Absolutely.
I'm still having fun with it. I love it, and it's worth it. You know, it's like we've talked about a million times before. It's that long-term fun, and the more you do it, the more you invest in it, the more rewards you get back, and it's just it's seriously worth it. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, number one thing, consistency. Just keep doing that shit.
Just keep doing it. There's definitely times like this week I'm like, I don't really want to do one. But then you just feel great when you're done. Like as soon as I get done with this and save this recording, I'm like, all right.
Yes, sir.
Did something productive this morning.
That's right.
And you guys out there, you guys also help to keep me motivated. I'm sure you feel the same way. When you see a new comment roll in or a new review or whatever it is, it kind of gives you that little boost, a little pep in your step. Like, all right, people are still loving this. So it's crucial, you guys out there, the creepers.
Yeah, it does, man. You're absolutely right. I know what that feels like when I see performers like go up at the Grammys and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I just want to thank my fans." Like, it sounds so ingenuine, but it's true. Without it, it's like, why are we doing this? Why without your freeloaders? Gotta have the freeloaders, man. Right. I mean, if you look at statistics, probably most of our reviews are from freeloaders, so that works.
Yep,
they keep us trucking, but. If you want more True Crime Guys, there's always patreon.com/True Crime Guys. Right, Lauren?
Do it.
$2 a month.
Join up. People are joining. It's all the rage. $2 a month gets you tons of premium content, and you get to be a part of the party, man. We'll give you a shout out on there as well as soon as you join up.
And like we talked about in some earlier episodes, some of these recent ones, we're suspending the Freeloader series for a little while. It's maybe not gone forever, but we're suspending it for a little while. We got to get caught back up. We promised our patrons a 2-year gap. And we've kind of narrowed a little bit. So we're going to be releasing free episodes. So don't freak out, freeloaders. There's still going to be new content, but you're just not going to get those Patreon.
You ain't getting that premium shit unless you pay for it, man.
That's right.
You're getting the Snickle Fritz. That's all you're getting.
That's right. But we still love you, freeloaders. We're still putting out shit.
Right.
All right.
Is that it?
I think that's it, man. I'm good.
All right, guys. I got a trail in the mountains to go drive on too, so.
Oh, let me know how that goes, dude.
We'll see if we're here. If I'm here next week,
so we know what happens.
Yeah, maybe. All right, guys, keep creeping. See you next week.
Keep creeping, guys.
True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder, get murder. True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder charming.